Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hi, my name is Kelly and I am so excited for today's video. So I am finally getting around to doing my top 10 reads of 2024. I know this is super late, guys. I'm filming this on the 14th of January. I've just been really behind with my end of year videos. But I have picked out my top 10 reads of the year. I wanted to do my top 24 books of 2024. To be honest, that would have been really hard to do. So I said, you know what? Why don't I just narrow it down to 10? And then originally I wasn't going to rank these. They were just going to be randomly like picked out. Like these are my top 10, but in like no particular order. And I said to myself, well, why don't we sit down and we try to actually number them, and then we'll go from my top 10 to my first, like my favorite book of the whole entire year. And so that is what I did. Now, if I was to try and rank these tomorrow or the day after, I could probably have a totally different ranking, and this was really hard. These are probably some of my favorite books ever. I loved them so much and it was really hard to do this, but I did rank them. And without further ado, let's just get into my top 10 books of 2024. So in 10th place is Redeeming 6 by Chloe Walsh. You are following Joey and Aoife. So the first two books, which are Binding and Keeping 13, is Johnny and Shannon. And then Saving and Redeeming 6 is Joey and Aoife's story. And I loved their story so much, you guys. It was so heartbreaking, but then beautiful at the same time. Like, I'm not kidding. These books take you on a journey. Like, it will rip your heart out of your chest. Run it over by a truck several times, throw it against the wall, spit on it, and then fix it back up and then put it back in your chest. Like, that is what reading this book feels like. The things that the characters had to go through like broke my heart. I was sobbing multiple times and I was just rooting the whole time, like, can these characters get the happy ending that they deserve? I loved Joey so much. The things that he went through just broke my heart. I'm not even kidding you. Like, even when I was reading Binding and Keeping 13, seeing the things that he went through and then getting his point of view just made it like a million times worse. Like, I'm like, please give this man a break. Like, he just went through way too much, and I was like, can you stop? Like, please just let him breathe a little bit. But I loved their love. I loved the story. The found family in these books is just everything to me. And I loved them. I loved them way more than Binding and Keeping 13. Don't get me wrong, I still loved those books, but these books topped those for me, and I don't think any other couple in this series will top them. So there's that. In 9th place, we have Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I was lucky enough to get an arc of this, so I did read it before it came out. I am planning on doing a reread in 2025 because I want to annotate it. Little cute tabs and highlights and stuff in it because I loved this book a lot. So you are following Emma and Justin, and Emma and Justin do not have the best luck when it comes to relationships. So every time they get into one and then they break up with that person goes on to find their soulmate. So they're like, are we cursed? Like, what is happening? So Justin ends up putting that on Reddit, like explaining that to everybody. And Emma comes across it and she's like, hey, like, I'm going through like the same thing. So they talk and they come up with this idea where they're going to go on a couple of dates, okay? And then after those couple of dates, they're going to break up. And then once they break up, that curse will be broken, and then they'll go on to find their soulmate. So that is the premise of this book. I loved it a lot. The things that Emma went through just broke my heart so much. I was just really rooting for her. And Justin is such a cinnamon roll MMC. He is the definition of if he wanted to, he would. I loved Justin. There is a scene where he goes onto a pool floaty to get to the FMC, and he's just everything. He's everything. The story was everything. I loved this book. In 8th place, we have Blood of My Monster by Rena Kent. Now, I'm including this as the whole monster trilogy because I couldn't just pick one. So, counting this as a whole entire one, and we're just counting it as one book because this is my video and I can do what I want. But you are following Sasha and Krill. This is a dark romance, so check up your trigger warnings. But Sasha is Krill's bodyguard. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil anything for you guys, but that is all I'm going to say about the book. I loved Sasha. She is such a badass FMC. I love the way Rena Kent writes like her FMCs. Like, they're just such bad bitches, and I love that. And then I also love the way that she writes her MMCs, because her MMCs are just chef's kiss. Like, Krill, the things that he does for the FMC, everything to me. I will do anything for this man if he was real. But yeah, I really loved this story a lot. All right. In 7th place, we have Us Against You by Frederick Bachman. This is the second book in the Beartown trilogy. I don't know what I gave Beartown. I feel like it had to be a 5-star or like close to a 5-star. And then I read this book like a month after, and oh my gosh. After reading Beartown and then reading this one, and you're already connected to the characters going into it, I felt 10 times more connected after reading this book. Frederick Bachman's writing is so unique and so unlike anything I feel like I've ever read before. The way that he like words stuff in here, like the words that he uses, I don't really know how to explain that, but his writing is everything. And he'll start like a paragraph in someone's point of view, and then it'll break off, and then the next paragraph it'll be in a different person's point of view, which I just thought was so cool. And I just want to say I love Benji. I love him so much. He's my favorite character in this series, and I am utterly terrified from what you learn in the end of this book. I'm so scared to read The Winners, which is the last book in the trilogy, because I've seen people like sob their eyes out over that book, and I've already cried enough in this one, so I'm really scared. But I just love this trilogy a lot. Alright, so my 6th book is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. If I sit and think about this book for too long, I will start crying. I'm not even kidding you guys. I think about this book on a daily basis. I think about Addie on a daily basis and the things that she went through in this book. But basically, you are following Addie, and she ends up making a deal with this guy where she can live forever. But with that comes a consequence. And that consequence is every single time that she meets somebody, when that person leaves the room, they will forget who she is. So nobody remembers her. And she ends up going into this library and taking this book. And she says, well, I can just take it because nobody is going to remember me when I walk out of here. So she does that. And then all of a sudden she hears this voice of this person calling her name, and they end up remembering her after they walk out. And it goes from there. I don't want to say much else than that, but I will say that the ending of this book broke my heart into a million pieces. I was not expecting this book to end like that, and it kind of like threw me off guard. I'm like, oh, you're gonna end it like that, like you're just gonna stomp on my heart and not put it back together at the end. So fair warning, this book will hurt your feelings. And I will say, this book does get a little slow in the beginning, but please push through. Like, do not DNF it. Please just keep reading it. I promise you it gets better. And I loved it. I loved every second of it. For me, it didn't get slow, like not really, like maybe like getting into it took me a little bit, but besides that, I was hooked. So I loved it. I loved Addie, and I loved Henry so much. All right, are we in top 5 yet? Yes, we are. Okay. This is my top 5. I feel like my top 5 was a lot harder than ranking the last 5. I don't know what it was about it, but on a different day, these could change. And this was really hard to do. So in 5th place, we have Consumed by Deception. This is the 3rd book in the Deception trilogy. I don't want to say too much because you're supposed to be confused while reading this trilogy. Like in the 1st book, you're going to be like, what the fuck is going on? I'm really confused, but that's the whole point. And then once you get into like the 2nd book and then even like the 3rd book, once it clicks, and you're like, holy shit, Rena Kent is a mastermind. She is. She really is. I really love this book. This book is my favorite in the trilogy. It's the 3rd one, like I said. I loved the FMC and the MMC. Adrian Volkov has definitely made his way to like my top book boyfriends. And yeah, like I said, I don't want to say too much, which I hate saying that sometimes because I want to give you guys a little bit of something what it's about, but it is a dark romance, so check your trigger warnings. But besides that, I really think that you should go into this trilogy blind because I feel like that's the way that it was supposed to be. So I loved Adrian. The man that he is, even though he's not real, which is just really disappointing when you think about it. All right. In fourth place, we have Cursed Fates. This is the 5th book in the Zodiac Academy. I really wanted to put this higher, but my top 3 are so solid, and I feel like it would be wrong to switch any of those books out. But yeah, the way that this book ended, honestly, not even the way that it ended, like even like the middle of this book had me like sobbing my eyes out, being like, how is this going to get any better? Like things to me are just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse because these authors put the characters through a lot and you're like, it can't possibly get any worse. And then it does. And then it's like, boom, you thought, bitch. It's kind of like a slap in the face if you really think about it. But the things that the characters went through in this book hurt. Like I had to stare at a wall for probably like 5 minutes after I finished this book, and I took a break from this one into the 6th one because I was so angry. But I really loved this book. I love the found family. I love this world. Like, I don't ever want this world to be over. Once I am on book 9, I'm going to be an uncontrollable mess because these characters are my family, even though they're not real. Like, the fact that Darcy and Lance isn't real is kind of upsetting when I think about it. All right, top 3. In 3rd place, we have Funny Story by Emily Henry. Okay, so you are following Daphne and Miles. And Daphne is engaged and Miles is in a relationship with someone, but they both of their significant others end up leaving them for each other. How fucked up is that? I feel like that has happened in real life to somebody probably. Because that honestly feels real. Is that weird to say? I don't know. But then they have to move in together because they have nowhere else to go, and it goes from there. And just seeing them form a friendship was so beautiful. And this book is so much more than a romance to me. It is about the characters and their growth, and so much more than a romance, which is what I love about Emily Henry's writing and the way that she writes these stories. Oh, one of a kind. This is definitely my favorite Emily Henry book. If it's not my favorite, it is definitely tied with Beach Read as my favorite. I really related to Daphne a lot. And then Miles, I feel like, is unlike any other MMC that I've ever read about. Like, this man wears Crocs. Have you ever heard that in a romance book? Probably not. But he's just so unique, and that's what I loved about him. And I feel like a lot of people hate on him, which is fine. Like, if you don't want him, I'll take him. No harm, no foul. I get it. But yeah, fuck both of their exes. Both of their exes suck. Especially you, Peter. Let me stop. But yeah, I really liked this book. As you can tell, I annotated the crap out of this book, and I will eat up anything that Emily Henry writes, especially if it's a grocery list. I'll eat that up too. All right, my top 2. In 2nd place, we have Caught Up by Liz Tomford. This is the 3rd book in the Windy City series. So you are following Kai and Miller. Miller is having a little bit of problems with her job, so she ends up coming home, and Kai is a single dad and he's having trouble finding a babysitter. And Kai's coach is Miller's dad. So she ends up getting a call from her father saying like, hey, like, you should come be a nanny for one of my players. And they actually have this like funny meet in like the elevator, and she's like holding like 2 beers, and then she ends up following him into his place to, you know, become his nanny. And it's kind of funny, and just their love, the way that their relationship growed. And Max is such a cute character. Like, honestly, in my opinion, I'm not really a fan of children in books, but Max was so adorable, and this book had me crying. Like, at the end, I was sobbing my eyes out. I loved this family that they created. I love Kai, I love Miller, I loved Max, I loved all the side characters, and getting to see some of the old couples in this book. One of the best standalone, interconnected standalone series ever. In 1st place, could we get a little bit of a drum roll, please? Let me stop. Okay. My top favorite read of the year. Also, this was kind of hard. Like, my top 2, I feel like, could be switched out from, like, when I think about it. Like, I don't know. I just keep telling you guys that this ranking could be moved around because it was a little bit hard to rank them. But anyways, let me get into my top favorite read of 2024, The X-Files by Jessica Joyce. Oh my gosh, you guys, I loved this book. So, you are following Georgia and Eli, and they are exes, and they end up, so their best friend is getting married, and he ends up calling both of them because he feels like everything with the wedding planning is just going to shit. So he calls them and he's like, can you guys like please come down and like help me out? Like, I want this wedding to be perfect. Like my fiance deserves it. So they come down and they have to basically fix their best friend's wedding for them, even though that they are exes, and you don't really know the reason why they broke up. And I just loved this book a lot. Both of the characters I related to. Like, I was reading this book and I'm like, I do not know who I related to more, Georgia or Eli. The man that Eli is, oh my gosh, Eli, I love him. He's definitely a top 5 favorite book boyfriend for me. I loved the story. As I keep saying, as you tell when I annotate a book, I loved it. I think about this book on a daily basis. Jessica Joyce did her big one with this one. So please go read this. If I had to recommend one book in this video, this is it. This is the book I would recommend. Go read it right now. Like right now. Exit off this video, go pick it up. Alright, let me stop. I loved it. I really want to do a reread soon. So, that was my top 10 books of 2024. Sometimes I feel like I think of a bunch of things to say about these books, and then when I sit down to film them, all my thoughts disappear from my head. So, if talking about these books didn't really make any sense, or you were like, can you stop rambling, or I'm saying the same things, I apologize for that. Just bear with me. But yeah, I'm gonna try and grab every single one of these books for you guys without them falling over. This is my top 10 reads of 2024. Coming really late at you guys with this. It should have been posted a couple weeks ago. I apologize for that. But yeah, this is them from top to bottom. And yeah, I'm going to shut the fuck up now and stop rambling. You guys are probably tired of hearing me talk by now. But thank you so much for watching. If you made it to the end of the video, I appreciate you a lot. Definitely leave a thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below letting me know if we have any of the same favorite books of the year in common, or even let me know your favorite book of 2024 because I would really love to know. I love you guys so much, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye guys!